money in itself does not change things.
Yeah.
People change things. The beauty about nonprofits and these people working in the community is they are dedicating their true natural resource to the problem, which is time.
Welcome to the IAA QLI 6 Pillars in Action podcast, where we deep dive into the transformative impact of the work being done in Indianapolis Black communities. Get ready to be inspired by the incredible projects and organizations making a real difference in the lives of Indianapolis residents. And that conversation starts right now.
Welcome back to another episode of 6 Pillars in Action podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Douglas, and as always, we are taking an in-depth look at the incredible work of the IAA-QLI, or the Indianapolis African American Quality of Life Initiative. Today, we are here with Leslie Andrews from National Urban League. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. So before we get into, everything else, I just wanted to know, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at the National Urban League.
So I have been in this type of work for 25 years, and this type of work being social justice, corporate giving, philanthropy, fundraising. Overall, I just describe it as bringing resources to opportunities and to make change. And I've been doing that for quite a while. My background is all things black and brown.
Okay.
I'm a graduate of an HBCU, Spelman College. I have a former life as a state director of the United Negro College Fund.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I have worked at two of the three evergreen black organizations and that work on behalf of people of color and disproportionately marginalized peoples. So the work is very purposeful. I've done the corporate thing, and I realize that it's important to advocate and to champion those of my own community. And I'm blessed to be able to do that through this particular grant that is now 5 years old.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. I love hearing, the people's journey to how they got into the space, because what's interesting is roles will change, but usually our passion or what drives us and really what we want to focus on doesn't.
No, and I'm easily bored, so redundant work would never work for me.
Yeah.
It's really about the things that require the courage to stand up for those, and this goes all the way back to elementary school. I was always standing up for the kid that was being bullied or picked on, even though I was probably about 5 feet if at best.
Yeah.
But, I always had that fight in me on behalf of others. Little did I know that would manifest and evolve into advocacy on behalf of communities. And having the courage to say the uncomfortable and sometimes the offensive things to the oppressor.
Yeah.
To get them to understand that, and to motivate those who are being oppressed.
Yeah.
Because after a while, you really run out of that energy. So I think one of my superpowers is stepping in the gap for those who have become weary of fighting for themselves.
Yeah.
Or they're unaware of how they're being marginalized and what the options and the opportunities are.
Yeah.
So I kind of stay in that lane, and then I've drilled down in that lane pretty deeply. And learned a lot of lessons, especially about money.
Yeah, well, yes, I'm sure. I think, even in, our community, one of the things we work really hard to do is to tell people we don't empower, but help them discover their power they already have. And we don't speak for people, but elevate their voices, right? We're not the voice. We are just simply people who are trying to elevate others' voices. And I appreciate there's people doing that work at your level, because it obviously helps us at a grassroots level really be effective and advocate in a way that brings effective change.
Yeah.
And that's impactful. So tell us about why you're in Indianapolis today.
Well, I am in Indianapolis to witness and experience some of the great work that has been done as a result of I call it the IAA-QLI.
Yes.
The grant making that has been done. The beauty of it is when you receive the idea and you then transfer the money, it's like planting a seed.
Yeah.
And very few times do you get to go back and witness and enjoy the harvest. So at this point, in year 4, and for some in year 2 of the grantee's life cycle, this is a great time to see the work that has been brought forth. And it has to answer ultimately the big question, which is, has the quality of life improved for African Americans in Indianapolis as a result of this deployment of these funds?
Yeah.
And that's a question that I'm always asking and answering over time, lest I forget what this is really all about.
Yeah.
Because, again, in the details, the grantees are doing the work and they're providing the threads. My job is to weave the tapestry
Yeah.
of what that is, and make them aware of each other.
Yeah.
You know, and find the opportunities that are in this. It's not just about the deployment of funds. We do 2 things. You have to justify the money and understand that it is the right amount at the right time in the right hands for the right project for the right reason. And then you also have to inform and educate the grantee of their responsibility to bring something to bear that will then enhance the overall product. You think you're running your own individual nonprofit, and you are, but you're also part of a larger diaspora of movement and change.
Yes.
And that means it deserves your best. You are learning. The third leg of this is we are educating as we are evolving. So if you were a small figure, meaning $50,000 or less grantee before, and now you're getting 6 figures. You know, just like you go from the minors to the majors, there's a certain amount of things that need to be done. There's a certain amount of ways that your product must appear and how it must feed into the larger reason that we're all here. Yeah. So, you know, it's a lot. That's really a lot of fun. Because I think low-key I would have been a teacher. I don't have the patience. So this allows me to teach in a different kind of way. In real time, people who need it and who can actually employ it in the moment.
Yeah. I ventured into trying to be a teacher for a little bit, or thinking about it, and I realized I didn't want to be in a classroom. I wanted to do life with people. I wanted to be out there in that similar way. And I love that you were talking about we all play a role in this larger vision and larger movement. And I think in some ways, some people don't like that because they like to be a big fish in a small pond. But for many of us, it's also comforting in that, it's not all on me. I just play my little role in this bigger thing, and we all get to work together to make this big thing happen. Because to say that you're going to improve the quality of life of Black folks, even just in a single city, is such a huge task.
Yes.
That is a tall order, and I'm
Yes.
sure it comes with a lot of pressure.
Well, and my thing often when I do interact with grantees is to get them to understand that this is literally a global experiment. In the world of philanthropy, and especially trust-based philanthropy, which is the new coinage in terms,
Yep.
It's a lot to just give you the money and say, hey, you go do it, and we trust that what you bring forth will be a direct response to what you say your needs are. So we have to trust that you even know what your needs are.
Yeah.
And we have to trust that you and or the folks selected are the ones to actually address those needs effectively. And then we have to also trust that when those needs are addressed, the very reason that the money was given will be achieved. Because the rest of the philanthropic community is watching this, because this is the reverse of how philanthropy has traditionally been done, and is definitely the reverse of how Lilly Endowment has done it in that sense. So they're trusting us nationally to be able to oversee what's happening locally, and I would venture to say through my visits that most people in Indianapolis aren't accustomed to being this type of focal point. I don't even think they realize the scale. We don't want to scare them, but yes, this is a larger thing that is happening in scale.
Yes.
For a certain group of folks in a large city. This is not the biggest, but in a fairly large city, there's a lot of politics around it.
I was going to ask about that.
There's a lot of politics around
yeah.
it. There's a lot of politics on every level around it. But more importantly, it's you don't drill that into the grantees too much because you want them to stay focused on what they proposed.
Right.
But you do remind them that, hey, You are a part of something larger, so your reporting needs to be clear and on point. It needs to be a story that I can take back to New York and then give to my VP, my EVP, and our CEO, and then he can tell the board.
Yeah.
Because everyone has been interested in this from day one.
So tell me about, like, how does your role as a National Urban League extend to this partnership with IAQLI?
So I was specifically hired for this. My background of both corporate giving and fundraising, and also overseeing large sums of money. So my main role, and I'm always careful when I use this language because it just makes me sound big dog, but it I guess that's what it is.
Okay.
My specialty is I raise 6, 7, 8, and 9-figure gifts.
Yeah.
And that's just a different type. It's called a major gift officer. So it's just a different hybrid of experiences, and I just happen to have them. I've also been on both sides of the ledger, meaning I've been that grantee, so I understand and can respect what goes into having a small shop trying to raise funds and function. And then now I'm in this other role where I have to talk with people with large sums of money to manage their expectations.
Yeah.
You know, because they're in a I would say in a consumer-driven kind of world, we think money changes everything. And money itself changes nothing.
Yeah.
You cannot legislate behavior.
Yeah.
And you can't buy behavior.
Yeah.
You can buy temporary compliance. So if you really want to change something, the mindset is the first thing. The money comes after the mindset.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about corporations and foundations and entities that are funded just to turn around and get out and make change, I have to then talk to funders and say, you want real change or perceived change?
Man.
Which is two very different things. I can give you something for your annual report, but if you hang around long enough, I can show you something that'll change your life.
Yeah.
So I had that unique skill set. And then I also had the passion for this type of work. I'm not an office person.
Yeah.
The key to success at this stage in my career is to understand who I am and who I'm not and fight for it. I'm not an office person. I'm not an 8 to 4 person. And knowing that, you know, if you need someone you need to watch and you need them to check in and check out, then this probably wouldn't be the space for me. I'm to go in and sit with the person and hold her baby while she finishes her paperwork.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm never far away from my beginnings, so I can always understand and relate to the people who are in the spaces in which I've already passed through. And I think that they get me for that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's amazing. And I want to point out, 7, 8, 9 figures. Yes, you are a big dog. We're gonna go ahead and
I wish that was my check.
You know, but I mean, still, it's being given to impactful work, and
money has responsibility.
Yes, it does.
But everyone can't hold money responsible.
That's a fact.
Because money respects money.
Yeah.
So money can see a problem, and it's not the people. Money can see a problem, but that doesn't mean that money has the abilities to solve a problem.
That's a fact. You know, it's like we talk about this with politics all the time, that this is a tool.
Yes.
It's a tool. You can have a nail that needs to get hammered in. You can have a hammer right next to it. You can lay a hammer on top of it. You could do all kinds of things with a hammer. But if you don't have the person who can grab it and strike it and use it the way that it's supposed to be used and hit that thing the way it's supposed to be at the right time, right, it doesn't work. So it's like it's just a tool. It's just a tool.
And you have to understand people's relationships with money.
Yeah.
I think that's what I've learned over the course of my career. When you give someone a check, at that point it was a check, now it's an ACH, whatever. When they receive $250,000 and they come apart, like, oh my God, no. Yes, they are doing the work, but you have to be ready to say, okay, thank you. Now I can go, and it doesn't change the trajectory of your movement.
Right.
That's a healthy relationship with money. And that means that the money was truly the only thing that was missing. But when you infuse money with someone who's never gotten that type of money, and they begin to either panic or they have a lot left over because they were afraid, And, you know, they would, all of those things, those are the extra teachable moments that you can only have in the field.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody has 90% of their money left and they 18 months into their program, I don't think it's because they didn't do what they said they were going to do. They're afraid oftentimes to either admit that what they thought they were going to do, they can't, and they need to pivot. They don't have permission to pivot. They don't have the courage to pivot. And they need somebody to nudge them up off the bench and get them in the game.
Yeah.
Because they've never received that kind of money before. Sometimes getting the money is the home run for folks. I'm like, no, this is just the first inning of the game. Now you have the money. Now go win the game.
Yeah, that's. I think as being a recipient, not of this grant but of other grants, like that's the weight too. Like it's like, okay, now this money is here. Now I gotta actually do these things I said I'm gonna do.
People tell me I was laying awake all night. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm not laying awake all night. Just is it in the bank?
Yeah.
Then what are you awake for? Go to sleep.
Yeah, go to sleep.
Because you got work to do tomorrow.
Okay.
And I think that is just and these are my feelings.
Yeah.
Our just unnatural superiority relationship with money. We don't get it. It is a tool. They're printing it right now. Right now. They've created money out of coin, out of an algorithm, and they're telling you it's worth something, and people agree. Money in itself does not change things. Yeah. People change things. The beauty about nonprofits and these people working in the community is they are dedicating their true natural resource to the problem, which is time, that you don't get back.
Yeah.
The money is just the oil to sort of lubricate the process.
Yeah.
The time is the true currency of the moment. Get out there. You answered the call, now go do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when we come back, we're going to get more into the visits that you've done since you've been here and the impressions that you got. But make sure you guys come back. We have a whole nother half with Miss Leslie Andrews from the National Urban League.
Coming up next on the Six Pillars in Action podcast, we'll continue our conversation with IAAQLI leaders. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and visit the IAAQLI website to learn more about the incredible work being done and how you can get involved.
Welcome back to Six Pillars in Action podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Douglas, and we are still here with Leslie Andrews from National Urban League. Obviously, we're still here, so I'm going to say, well, none of you that. And I just, that first tab, it was so incredibly inspiring to hear that conversations we're having at grassroots level are also being had at that level with such intentionality and care. And I just wanted to share that because it was super inspiring.
And it's important. I think we often believe that we're the only ones that see what's going on. And when I'm in those conversations, I really require that we spend as much time on the solution as we do naming the problem, right? Because we're all going to see a different subset of the problem. Yes. It's almost like if you lay back on the grass and you look up at the sky with your friends, everybody will see something different. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, they will see the sky. Yeah. My question to those is, yes, to see the sky, now what part of the problem are you going to address? That's one of a couple of really big pet peeves of mine, is everyone believes that they own the problem. Yeah. There's that little nuance, that little corner of the problem is going to birth some type of major solution. And the reality is, naturally, you should go and look for collaborative partners. Mm-hmm. But what I'm learning over the years is that we're not taught to collaborate. We are taught to achieve based on our own merits. Well, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Collective economics do not depend on individual merit. Collective economics, collective solution. Because we're all experiencing a problem in some form or fashion. And that's the other thing. What's happening on one side of the city may not be the same thing happening on the other side of the city in the same mouth. Right. So we should come together and compare those. and then begin to crack solutions and bring people together. Yet everybody wants money to address their corner. And they somehow want those who are in the funding community to see the big picture. Yet, how can you pay a big picture when you're focused on your little bitty corner? Yeah. And you swear that is the answer. And you cannot disabuse people from this idea that they, with just a little bit of money, can solve something that has been around forever.
Yeah, that we had, the pastor locally that said everybody thinks they are their solution rather than a solution.
Yes.
And so by word, you're not here for. We all think our problem is the problem that needs to be solved, but it's like no, it's actually a bunch, and we have to figure out collaboratively how that works to solve this. To ultimately, we talked about before, we're the quality of life of Black folks, and that's like that has to be the goal at the end of the day, and that's the goal that we have to acknowledge all the different ways that this has to happen.
All the different ways, and I don't want to make this the angry set. Yeah, but challenge number 2. Stop beginning with the problem. How do you want to see your community? Yeah. What is your comparative analysis as to, well, if they had 10 of those, what we have 10 of those? If that is the way that you are constructing your beliefs, okay, fine. But can we all agree on a set vision for that particular community? Now, we will focus on the geography and the history of the geography, why some neighborhoods are forced together in name and in recognition, and how they had been recorded in history. But what's the quality of life neighborhood by neighborhood? Yeah, and who decided that part? Did I call Sam and call the people say, listen, I don't really care that much. I don't have children, so I'll leave the schools to the parents. But I do have a certain diet, so I would like to have fresh fruits and vegetables. And I would like to have access to a certain type of workforce because I don't want to cut my lawn and I don't want to, so I need some entrepreneurs. I can decide that. If we can just decide on one larger vision, then we can chop that up and say, well, this is how we'll do that. Now, mind you, we haven't talked about the problem at all, right? I think we are truly, truly too addicted to the concept of problem solving. And he is assuming that everything you're taking to solve was a problem in the first place. Says who? Yeah. How about you be solution-based and then stand for and accept nothing less? Yeah. The last thing is, for me, that just, do you really know how to be your own champion and advocate? And do you do that as much as you do about complaining? Because complaining is not advocating. Complaining is lying. Complaining is restating the problem with emotion to whomever will listen. And it's usually someone who cannot help you solve the problems. Advocating is understanding the solution you want to bring forward, understanding the obstacles, and then talking about it to someone who can do something about it. Yes. I cannot hear no for someone who was never, ever able to say yes. And then do you have the courage to stand 10 toes down and take 6 no's before you get that first yes?
Yeah. Or the patience to build the relationships that it takes to get it yes.
Yeah. Or understand and own that you may not be the person to get the yes.
Yeah.
I'm a particular case. I am what I like to say a closer. Now I'm going to go ahead and say we've agreed that this is the solution. Now let's get to how we want to do this and what's palatable from a financial standpoint. But if you want somebody to keep explaining to you over and over and over again because you're nervous, I'm not the first. Right. And knowing that is my job to go get the person. Yeah. It's my job to collaborate with someone whose strength is the depth of education that is necessary to make someone with money comfortable with the solution. Right. I'm the present the solution, get details, cut the check, follow through on the actual performance, And then let's talk about the evaluating what we really actually do. Yes. But I see a lot of people in the communities that I can visit that think that their problem is the only version. And they don't understand that even though they may be experiencing problems, they may not be the person to bring forth the solution. Yeah. That's and then how do I cross-reference? And knowing that, well, how do I know how to move?
Yeah. Right. So when you came here, you visited a lot of the grantees and organizations and programs. What was some of your takeaways from those visits? Like when you think about these things, and then we can go out here and experience the grantees, what are some of the things that you'd say?
Money brought them to the table, but mission will actually determine their value. Everybody wanted to hear about the money. And the reason that set off all my red flags is just what I said before. If money can solve it, it really is not a problem. They print money right now. Money is what you believe is one of the tools to solve it. So the difference between round 1 and round 3, especially grantees who were in both, is night and day. Because I believe that in round 1, they truly were just subscribed to this belief that if we give them money, they'll be able to do these magnificent things, which is fine. But by round 3, they recognized that the money itself became a part-time job. Yes. Managing and deploying the money itself, it changed how people in communities saw them once they were announced to be a grantee. Yet now the people who used to commiserate with you and align with you, who didn't get the money, are now looking at you like, you over there. You're an outsider. Yeah. Because you can no longer commiserate about the problem. You now have a tool to solve it. So now the responsibility on you, especially you work in similar fields. Yeah. I learned also through the rounds that everybody didn't realize, many of them didn't realize that what they believed just wasn't true. They had totally misdiagnosed the problem. Because no matter how much money they threw at it, it still wasn't moving at a pace that they thought it would push. Said the patience, social change, wholesale social change, but just wholesale change overall, life-changing and directional policy and implementation, legislating individual behavior, that takes time. That's the real current skills, not the money. And that in itself is a lesson that is invaluable.
Are you seeing organizations? One of the things that I love to see is folks who they set out to do one thing, or once they got into it, it's like, oh, that's not the thing. But they can pivot. They can be fluid enough to change their approach to make sure that they can be what that problem needs, or whatever their community, Tennessee organizations that have been able to do that through this process.
I have, and I'll tell you a couple of key factors that I think characteristics that they have in common that make them very successful at doing that is one, they live the product. Like you don't drive in from the suburb to go leave this organization because you used to live in that community, right? You still do live in that community. So you live the problem. So real time pivoting is essential to your own well-being, your family's well-being, your neighbors' well-being. The people know you, so the expectation is here. Okay. Those who also know how to pivot in that time, they understand the importance of the moment. Like, hey, we may not ever get this ever again. Yeah. We have to get there or get somewhere near there at the appointed time. So they insist urgency around it. You know, are you serving the problem or are you really trying to solve the problem? Yeah. Because money will serve it all day long. But if you're really trying to solve it, then we got to make this hard pivot. And I'm not sure of what's on the other end. Those people trust the fact that even if I'm not sure of it, I know we got to go down that road down there. Right. And they can inspire others to go with. Those are the people that make that successful pivot. Others, they tend to hide, and the hiding really are the ones, I believe, that they still have a majority of their money left. Like they're afraid to do something. They're afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes of education. Yeah. I will never find somebody that's afraid to make mistakes. That's crazy. Like, then the money is just gonna sit in your account for 2 years. And you can say, I had the money, but I didn't get it done. Is that the narrative you want? Yeah. Or that I tried something and it didn't work quite the way and I thought it would, but now I understand way forward and I need to be funny for that way forward.
It's kind of like the parable of talents. That was the one that the buried, right?
Yes.
I buried it. Listen, I got the same thing that I can return, but I didn't give you that for the same thing.
Yeah, and I'm shocked at how, this is my opinion, how, I almost hate to say it because I don't know it to be true, it feels like people really don't talk. Because when you start looking at grant reports and start talking to the grantees, you realize there's so many people replicating efforts and doing the same thing. And I'm like, why are we spinning all these wheels individually? To make a car roll, all wheels have to go in the same direction. Yeah. So if it's homelessness on the east side and it's homelessness on the west side, then when are we going to the Indiana General Assembly as a collective and saying, here's what we know. Now we want to understand what you're going to do, right? Here's what we need and here's what we will accept. But you got people working on the same problem in different pockets of the city.
Yeah. What's so interesting about that is there's people in our city who can flat out tell you need 100,000 affordable rentals, which would set people ablaze. But it's thinking about housing as a human right, rather than just a means to build wealth. And like at the SEPI song, right? But we had that there. We know that Indianapolis needs 100,000 affordable rents, and yet he's still are not doing that. It is frustrating, but yeah, you do wonder, are you talking here? The people who are doing the numbers, the people who are doing the work. Are you guys kidding me? But I guess before we leave here, I wanted to ask you, is there one story in particular that you remember that really stuck out to you, or that was particularly inspiring for that you just know that it's gonna do well?
The one that still remains with me is the bodega. I believe it was Cleo's bodega. And the reason that stands out is in its 3 very quick parts. Number one, when we saw it on paper in New York, it was related directly to a bodega in New York. Well, that is not a positive correlation. Because bodegas in New York do all kinds of things. Above and beyond the seats. Correct. So we were like, what is a bodega doing in Indianapolis? And I will judge it. Which is the one thing I am absolutely not allowed to do, but I fall into the trap every time. Because I need to understand, and that lines of understanding and judgment is very thick. So once we got the bodega, but we went ahead and looked at the recommendation. So when I go to see it, it was not what I think to be a bodega. Not what I initially speak. It was a vital, essential employer. It was an answer to a food desert. It was a symbol of what can be done positively in the community. And it was literally a sort of a marketplace for things for other people. And that was not the vision that I had. So I had to spat my own hand in because I could judge it to be one thing, but I was blessed to ultimately find out that it wasn't that. It meant something else. So it expanded my ability to understand what one building can do to an entire neighborhood. Yeah. And in the last part of the story is while we were in there, I saw a painting that spoke to me, and I asked, if these things for sale. And she said, well, let me call the first. And it's in behind the counter, followed the artist. And she relayed to her, yeah, we'll sell it for whatever because I'm done. because nobody, you know, I'm not selling anything, whatever. And I was like, no, ask her what she wants. Because in that moment, I get to be able to get exactly what you need for this. Because I told her, don't give up. Yeah. Do not bail out on your gift just because it didn't arrive in a time frame that was conducive for you to believe. Yeah. Believe anyway. I'll buy it. And I'll pay whatever dollar figure you want for it. And I did, and it sits in my office, and it actually sits in such a way that when I'm on Zoom, you should see it behind me. But when I walk in my office, it just reminds me, because there are times where I get frustrated and I want to quit as well. So this whole initiative is also reminding me of my purpose and my work. And it is those minuscule moments where I can then give her on that day, let me give you $100 for your gift. And still consider it of ours. Yeah. Not because I don't value your gift, but because you were about to give up on their gift. That will always.
Yes. Oh my God. It's so beautiful. This has been one of the best interviews we've done. Such a beautiful. But anyway, so I guess the leaving here to what is there a way people can get connected to like the National Urban League, or is there a reason to, like, what could people do?
So we are a national office of 92 affiliates. All work, all connections, all resources come through our affiliates.
Right.
So in this particular area, it would be the Indiana Urban League. Yeah, that would be the way to access anything that we would have. Now, nationally, you can follow some of the advocacy and equitable justice work, the voter registration work, and those kinds of national rollout programs. You can always get that at NUL.org. But as far as in your local community with resources and deploying of national programs in the local community, you would go through the Indiana Urban League.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for being here with us today. This has been incredible.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you all for joining us today for another episode of Six Pillars in Action podcast. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, comment. Make sure that you follow us on social media. Usually it's always at IAQLI, but I'm sure they'll put that on the screen. Until next time, thanks.
We hope you enjoyed today's Six Pillars in Action podcast and learned more about how the IAA-QLI funding is impacting our city. And remember, to stay up to date on what's happening with IAA-QLI and the Six Pillars in Action, subscribe to the podcast in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. You can also check out the Six Pillars in Action newsletter, blogs, and other videos on our website at IAAQLI.org. Until next time, let's continue to celebrate the power of transformation. See you next time.